Hey, what is up, designers and design nerds? My name is Mehmet Aydın Baytaş, and I am the host of Design Discipline. And today we're presenting to you a masterclass on web design. This is actually just our second masterclass that we're putting out on our YouTube channel. And the concept here is that I'm going to show you a web design, and I'm going to talk about the tactics and ideas that actually go into that website so that we as designers can learn something from these well put together designs. We can replicate these ideas, we can be inspired and take these learnings and deploy them in our own designs. Let's dive straight into the screen and have a look. The website that I want to review today is the landing page for a company called Cosmos. This is a startup company, and what they're developing is what they call a Pinterest alternative for creatives. Now, we're actually not going to go into the actual application today. We're not going to dive into the actual product that they're building, but what we're going to do is to review their landing page, their website, and look at the web design that's happening over here. Just to keep this video short, if we review the whole product, we're going to be here for the whole day. But if you would like me to review the whole product or any other product, any other web design, any other digital product design that you enjoy, just drop a comment in the comments section and I'll do my best to produce a future episode reviewing the designs that you enjoy and trying to extract some learnings from those. Perhaps even before we get to the page of Cosmos, I can show you how I ended up hearing about this application, how I came to learn about this startup, and that was through the page of another designer that I really like called Troff. I actually don't know how to pronounce his name, and even if that's his real name, he's kind of a mysterious person. But the address of his website is tr.af, which is a pretty cool domain to have. But he's a designer that I really like the style of. As you might guess from the design language that I like to use on my website and on my graphics, I'm a really big fan of this white on black kind of design language, and Troff really executes this language in a very, very compelling way. This is actually kind of a design trend these days, or this school of design, and I'm kind of happy to be part of it as well. And I've heard this being called cosmic design, which actually also fits with the theme of today's startup, Cosmos. But anyway, on his webpage, Troff has this page that he calls his stack about the tools and apps of his choice. And when I go into this page, I see not only Cosmos, but a whole collection of things that he's been using. Now, a lot of these things, Spotify, Dropbox, Notion, Framer, these tools are actually very familiar to me. But when I went on this page and I saw Cosmos among this list of some of the tools that actually I also enjoy using, I thought I should check this out. I should go to this web page and see what this app, what this tool is about. So this is how I discovered it. And I'm showing you this because I think the discovery of a brand, the very first initial contact that you have with any company or any person or any brand out there, the very, very first impression really matters. It's really important. And sometimes it's actually the case that these first impressions don't even really happen on your own page. They don't really happen on a platform that you actually control, but they happen on someone else's page. They happen when someone else shares a story about you in social media. So that's something that maybe we as experienced designers, as digital designers, product designers should keep in mind when we are working on these things. And it's something that we should keep in mind when we're thinking about marketing. So this is how I discovered Cosmos, displayed on the page of a designer that I really like when I was just browsing through his personal website. And if we click on this link over here, this actually takes us to the Cosmos page that Troff put together for himself, which does kind of exhibit, it does display what this product is all about. It's, I think, some kind of like collection of inspirations, images that you collect over the web that you can put into these collections, this kind of library for visuals that you put together. It extracts these colors from these designs. I don't know if these are actually extracted by some kind of AI, or if Troff himself has taken these colors out of these designs and made them into a property of this kind of like database that he's built. And these tags, I don't know where these are coming from, but I'm kind of assuming that these are actually parts of an AI system, that these are auto-generated by the Cosmos application itself. And that's actually a very compelling value proposition to me as a designer. If it's able to do this, I'm certainly interested now in checking this out. But anyway, what I really want to review today, the thing that I want to concentrate on is the landing page of this application, because I think it's pretty unique. So let's hit the landing page and see what it looks like. By the way, for this review, I'm using an app called Arc Browser, made by a company called the Browser Company of New York. I mean, their branding is really cute, but the app itself is actually very well designed. This is a very, very nicely designed browser, and has this feature called a split view, where I'm actually able to show you the kind of desktop version, the full screen version of this website, as well as the mobile version in tandem on the same screen. And I really like this kind of split display for these kinds of reviews, but also when I'm developing websites, this is really, really useful to me. So I'll be using this view to show you the mobile version of the site and the desktop version together on the same screen. But let's dive in. When we hit www.cosmos.so, which is the address of this web page, we actually don't immediately encounter the landing page. We come to this kind of like sign in, sign up kind of page. And the rest of the content, the landing page itself is kind of hidden behind this link where you have to click this button called Join the Waitlist in order to access more information about this app. I really like the design of this page. It's really simple. It's really, you know, kind of mysterious, compelling. I do like the visual design here, but I've kind of find this extra action to get to the marketing, to get to the explanation, to get actually to the meat of the web page a little, it's a little too much. I wouldn't do this. I would probably build a page where you immediately land on the explanation page, on the landing page, but that's just my 2 cents. But finally, let's go to their web page and review the design of it and see what we can learn from it. So we click this button, and the landing page opens in a new window actually, which for the purposes of this review is kind of inconvenient. But really quickly, let me just open up another split view so we can see what the mobile view is about. And I'll just quickly pull up my developer tools and give you the iPhone kind of version of it. I like this because it not only sets the screen size exactly to the kind of mobile screen that you're developing for, but also it disables hover events and mouse control events, because obviously on the mobile device you have a touch screen and you don't have a mouse pointer. So it's convenient when you're developing and when you're kind of reviewing these interactions to have this mobile view, this dedicated kind of mobile simulation in your browser. But let's dive into the design. So I am a big fan of these kind of dark black background designs with striking visuals, with like white text on black. You know this already, and I really like the design of this view. I like how interactive it is. The way that this is done is with JavaScript, where the position of your mouse cursor is tracked, and then elements on this page are kind of transformed or moved based on the position of your mouse. In fact, if we go and inspect one of these HTML elements over here, I'll just pull up my developer console so you can see. If we do this, and I'll turn off the mobile emulation. So if we move our mouse in this view, you can actually see how the transform properties, the translation of these elements on the screen, are updated in real time as the mouse moves. There are 2 very popular JavaScript libraries to achieve this. I think the most popular one is called GSAP. And if you're using React framework for component-based JavaScript programming, there's also Framer Motion, which is a pleasure to use. It's a little more convenient than GSAP when you're programming in React, but GSAP I think is like the gold standard. It's the industry standard for web design animations these days. But anyway, so this is the entrance of the landing page, and I think this kind of already sets the tone that this is something for creatives. It has this kind of like moody kind of Instagram kind of shots. You know, there's, I don't know, cleavage, bikini butts, nice interior shots, and, you know, abstract logo type and stone structure, whatever. It's kind of this moody aesthetic Instagram kind of feel, and it really sets the tone of what the target audience of this page and this app is. This mouse cursor hijacking, where it transforms your mouse cursor into this like circle, I'm not a big fan of that, honestly. I never do that in my own web designs. I don't really, but it's not to say that it looks bad. It looks okay. It looks nice. Another thing to note here is that the mouse cursor changes its form when you hover over one of these pictures, one of these elements. and it gives you like, it says element number 006012, element number something something 59, like each, it gives you like this ID number for these pictures or elements. But when you click on them, nothing happens. I would honestly not do this. If I were the designer of this website, I would not put this kind of hover mouse transformation, mouse animation in play over here unless something actually happens when I click on these elements. So if nothing is going to happen when you click, I think it's a better idea to not to use any of these transformations of mouse cursors or images, you know, rotating or flickering or anything, because it kind of sets the expectation that when you click, something is going to happen, and when nothing happens, it's kind of disappointing. But anyhow, this above the fold, immediate kind of landing environment, I like the design of it. I think with no words at all, only images, it kind of sets the tone of who the target audience is for this app and what kind of aesthetic experience, what kind of UI experience you will have when you're inside of it. But the interaction design of it with this hover kind of transformation, which does not lead to any clicking actions, that is kind of disappointing. So that's one improvement that I would do on this design. But moving on, if we scroll down, the whole background kind of nicely fades out. And again, with 3D transformations on these HTML elements using JavaScript, that's kind of a straightforward thing to do. It might even be like a preset in some library, I don't know, or a component that you can grab from somewhere. But it's really nicely done. I really like the effect of how things fade into the background and also up, and also they get darker. In visual design, usually if you're going to simulate depth on a screen, on a 2D environment, two things happen when things move in the Z direction and the depth direction. First, they get smaller, obviously, but also they get darker. And that effect is very well done over here. They have really conveyed this kind of sense of things moving back and you know, getting further away from you. In the mobile view, that also happens. The same thing happens, and it's kind of it's also done very well. And this other animation, this kind of stars background kind of thing is introduced. I think that's also very cool. It's an interesting thing to add rather than just have a completely black background. And now apparently we are entering the cosmos. We are actually coming to the information about the platform. Now we're going to learn about what this whole thing is about. I really like this layout. I really like this design. When I first look at this, I think this is beautiful. There's very little text, very few kind of things happening. It's kind of simple, but it's also dynamic because these elements, especially on the full desktop view, are kind of arranged randomly. There's this kind of modularity to this design, but also this random element. If you remember from our first masterclass, I had told you about this book that I have called Typographic Systems by Kimberly Elam. And in this book, one of the core ideas that Elam is talking about is her system of 8 different kind of approaches to arranging visual layouts: to axial, radial, dilational, random, grid, modular, transitional, and bilateral systems. Here on this webpage, we see the implementation of a modular design where you can see how each of these paragraphs, each of these blocks of text is kind of a different module that's standing in itself. Also, these kind of animated things. Oh, I love that the way that the text kind of comes in with like the randomized text effect. See there? That I think is beautiful. These animations are beautiful. But sorry, I got distracted by the animations. So if we get back to the layout, there's this modular system that's in play here. There's also kind of a random system, this random arrangement. This is actually kind of tough to pull off on the internet. It's so easy for this to go wrong. So I'm kind of curious how they actually did this. I would like to see how all of these things are arranged. And I can do this by inspecting these elements and to see how they are positioned. Apparently, they have made these sections of, let's see, these sections which break the page horizontally, and then inside of these horizontal sections, the paragraphs, these modules are arranged. How are they arranged? They're absolutely positioned, so they are given explicit values for how they should, what kind of distance they should take from the left, from the top of the container that they're sitting in. That's actually a lot of work. I commend the designers for having pulled it off like this. If you attempt to do these things, just know that it might be a challenge to make this work in different screen sizes, and you will encounter plenty of edge cases. It will take some tweaking, it will take some playing around, but it's possible to achieve. So this is very nicely done. It's a very nicely done modular and random layout system. Now, there's a few things about this design that I would actually like to critique, one of which is that I am actually not really able to consume this text. Like, I love the look of this. I like this design as a kind of a visual composition. I enjoy looking at this, but as a reading experience, in terms of like consuming and actually understanding all of this text, I think this design is not very strong. I don't really get a sense of like what all of this is about and what kind of, what they're trying to tell me, and is there an action that I should take? Is there an idea that I should really understand? I don't know what's going on here in terms of the idea and the content, even though the composition and the form is very, very beautiful. I don't really understand what these animations are trying to tell me, even though they look very beautiful. I like the look of all of these things, but it just doesn't really tell me what's going on. I don't even know if these animations are supposed to tell a story, but like this first animation and then following that, the second kind of visual, which takes a different form. I don't really get the idea. I'm really sorry. I love the visual design here. I love the layout, but all of this text, the way that it's arranged, the way that it's kind of faded out, it looks like something that maybe I shouldn't even be reading. So I love the way that this looks. I love the visuals, but I just don't get the story here. Even though they are, they've put some time into telling the story. They've composed this like beautiful text, and I get like the editorial kind of direction of it, but I don't really get the idea. If we compare this to the site that we reviewed earlier in our first masterclass, the site of Lazy, which is a note-taking tool, you can actually see how ideas are very clearly communicated one by one. So the value proposition from this app, the features, the use cases that they are trying to appeal to are very, very clear from their website. It's very easy to understand. Even as I'm talking, just making a video, I actually, just by glancing on this webpage, in mere seconds, I can understand what kind of features and what kind of value proposition that they're offering. And you can see the difference here. I mean, here it's super clear. With very few words and very carefully selected visuals, they've been able to create this very efficient experience for consuming this information, which is not really happening on the Cosmos website to the same degree, even though it's actually a very, very beautiful website. But let's get back to it. So my verdict for this middle portion of this website, the meat of this website, like really the place where the story is told and the most information is conveyed on this landing page, I think visually it looks very beautiful. It's very refreshing, at least to me, because I like this design style. But in terms of conveying information, in terms of actually telling me what this whole thing is about, it's not really cutting it, I think. But let's see what happens as we scroll further down. What happens in the rest of the website? So now we have some more visuals, interiors, humans, environment. I wonder what happens if I click on these. Nothing actually happens if I click on these. So that's actually kind of disappointing, even though from this section, from this visually composed place on this website, I'm actually able to understand much more about what this app is and what it's for, compared to all of these many pages of text that preceded it. So with these three visuals labeled, interiors, humans, environment, this kind of visual presentation tells me so much more than all of these words that preceded it. And this is the mark of a design that is well done. So actually, if I were designing this web page, I would move this section, instead of the end of the page, I would move it to somewhere in the middle, and I would dramatically compress, I would dramatically reduce all of this text and concentrate on these visuals, and position this tool, explain this tool as something where creatives and designers can pull in their ideas about interiors or photography with human subjects or environmental shots, just visual ideas. It's a place for visual ideas. It's a place for inspiration. And these 3 pictures convey that message so much better than all of this text. So that would be the change that I would do on this web design. Now, finally, as we come to the end of the web page, something very interesting happens. And I really love this design decision. I love this construction, this kind of approach to what they've done over here at the end of the page. And this is the idea that everything, including all these visuals, text, all of the content just fades out, and it takes you to the call to action. It takes you to this one button positioned smack in the center of the page. Says join the waitlist. The call to action, what it wants you to do, is extremely clear. The same thing happens on the mobile layouts, taking up the entire screen and just giving you one simple message: join the waitlist, join us, enter the app, try it out. And again, this is implemented very creatively in terms of following the scroll, in terms of the positioning of the elements, the way that this is kind of coded, that the way that these elements fade out upwards and this kind of stays where it is. That's a very nice approach. I think this is an approach to animating the layout of a web page that I might actually steal for one of my future designs. I really love this. I really love this way of like reducing the information and making you concentrate on this one element that's left in there. And with that, we have come to the end of this web page. We have come to the end of my review of Cosmos's landing page. If we quickly go over what is good about this design and what can be improved, in my opinion, I really like how simple everything is. I love the sort of well art-directed kind of imagery over here, which is kind of a must-have in a tool that's made for creatives. It's made for people who work with imagery like this in their daily lives, in their professional work. So it really has to really nail that art direction, that imagery aspect of it. I love the black minimal design on computer screens, on these devices that actually produce light in order to make images, which is different from what you would expect on a printed page, on a poster. I also like using this black background as my go-to default, because black is the state of these screens where the least amount of light is produced. It's kind of like the default empty state, whereas on a printed page, for example, on this book, the default state is actually white. It's actually quite challenging to print on a black page, on a dark page with white ink or with light-colored ink. But on the screen, on a computer screen or on a smartphone screen, the kind of default state is actually black. And anything we do on the screen, any designs that we actually display, are almost like painting with light on a blank black canvas. And I really like how designers at Cosmos have leveraged this kind of approach in order to produce this design. I really like the animations. I love the background and how smoothly everything fades in and out. The performance of the animations is done very well. The layouts are done very well. I really love the composition and the visuals that we see here. I like how they kept their paragraphs short, so if you really want to read these things, it is possible to read them. They are readable, even though the text is a little too faded out for my taste. If I'm designing something that is intended to be read, I would design it a little more bright. I would make it a little more white rather than gray. But visually, as a composition, it works. As a reading experience, as a storytelling, information conveying experience, I would honestly prefer to choose another kind of design. I would overhaul this design, even though I might keep the art direction, the design direction, the colors, the typography, maybe the layout approach and all of this. Even though I love the art direction and the design direction here, the colors and the typography, or the lack of colors maybe, but still I really enjoy the aesthetics of it. But if I was designing a landing page for my own software, for my own startup, I would put together a layout that is more orderly, a little more tidy, so that the text becomes more readable, the features, the value proposition becomes clearer, and that, I think, makes a difference in terms of the commercial outcomes, in terms of the business outcomes, or the impact outcomes of the design that you're putting out there in the world. So even though this layout, which uses a random layout approach, if we use the language that Kimberly Ellen proposes in her book on typographic systems, this random approach, even though it looks very beautiful, I would prefer a different approach. I would maybe use a grid system or a column system, or some kind of more tidy approach to make this text readable and to explain features more clearly. Now, at the end of this web page, I really like how a lot of kind of understanding about what this app is about, what this startup is actually offering me, is conveyed with very little imagery in this end section. It really illustrates how sometimes you only need images, sometimes you only need one or two words in order to explain to your audience what this thing is about. And this section does the job beautifully, even though one change, one maybe improvement that I would do over here would be to remove these hover animations and instead just put these labels, just put these elements, just being visible all the time on top of these images. Because when something animates, when something changes its visual state, when I hover on it with my mouse, I really expect something to happen when I click on it. And here, that clicking action, that click result is not really happening, and I'm kind of disappointed in that, to be honest. When you create this anticipation with these micro interactions in your web design, but you don't deliver on that anticipation, the result, unfortunately, is called disappointment. And that's what the lack of click interactions is giving me on this design, even though potentially this is actually a very effective, very, very efficient kind of approach to explaining to me what this app is about and to pull me into this. Finally, I really love what they've done here, where all of these things at the top of the page just fade out. This call to action just sticks to the middle of the page. Everything just goes away, and we're left with only one thing to do, only one point of concentration, which is actually the action that they want us to take to join the waitlist, to become interested in actually using this app. This is done very beautifully, and I think this is a design pattern that we all can learn from and implement on our designs where appropriate, of course. So that's the end of my review of the landing page of Cosmos. If you enjoyed this review, if you've learned something from this that you can bring to your work as a web designer or as a visual designer of any kind, please hit the like button, leave a comment about what you've learned. If there is another website or another design that you would like me to review in a similar fashion, or if there are particular things that you wish I would concentrate more on in these reviews, leave a comment, let me know, and I will do my best to focus on that information which is relevant to you in the future episodes, in the future masterclasses that we will put out on Design Discipline. Now, Design Discipline is an internet institution that I founded to produce design research like these masterclasses in order to empower creation and innovation. We produce a YouTube channel, we also produce a podcast, and we have a website with many articles and numerous other offerings for designers to help you navigate the multiverse of design. So if you are a designer, a design nerd, a design student, or an innovator of any kind, make sure to check out our website, subscribe to our podcast, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and check out our offerings that we create to inspire and help you in your own creative journey. My name is Mehmet Aydın Baytaş. This is Design Discipline, and I hope you have a great time until we meet in the next episode.